She can get it running over to me. Yeah. She heard about me and she know I'm a freak. Ooh. She can try running over me. Yeah. Girl, you know ain't no controlling me. No, no. Close your mouth when I'm tasting you. Yeah. I don't.
Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield. I'm a professional dancer, professional dance choreographer, and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States. And we're taking a look at XG's move number 2. This is Jurin. So I do know they have a move series, which is their pre-debut performances right before they start in their debut and their comebacks and things of the like. I am actively doing an XG marathon, which is what you're seeing right now. And so as every comeback XG has, I release a couple of these onto YouTube. So if you're seeing this on Patreon, join the club. You're awesome. You get to see it as I make it. If you see this on YouTube, you could have seen this about a month earlier. That's all I'm saying. But it's still really fun that you're here, and I'm very excited to take a look at this. So we're gonna go ahead and check it out.
You're a real, light it up, light it up. You're a real bitch, gon' light it up, light it up. It's your birthday, gon' light it up, light it up. I'm drunk and I'm gon' light it up, light it up. She can get it running over to me. Yeah. She heard about me and she know I'm a freak. Ooh. She can try running over me. Yeah. Girl, you know ain't no controlling me. No, no. Close your mouth when I'm tasting you. Yeah. I don't chase when I drink it. Tell your girl she can play with it. Line it up so we sing it. Keep it going like yeah, 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 yeah. Now you see the smoke in the air.
She really has great movement quality. More of a laid back approach. Love that pistol squat. That was cool. Okay, Miss Harlem Shake. Nothing screams laid back chill like crisp brownie brown. Yeah, that was really fun. Definitely enjoyed that. And I'm actually excited, you know, as I go through my marathon with XG to naturally get to see each member in isolation. I think that's super cool. I hadn't been able to do that with any other group yet at this point. I have a feeling I'll be able to do that with ATs possibly, but I did it with a couple members of 17, but I know every member here has a solo dance, and that's really cool. So let's go ahead and dial it back from here. It does, I mean, obviously I know it, this is, I'm trying to find a pen, so I can take notes. Sorry. From the top of this, I mean, I'm very much a fan of the movement. I think there's Natalie Bebko, I think was the name. I feel like, I don't know if that's the same Natalie that I know. It could very well be the same Natalie that I know, because I've never been able to pronounce her last name, so it could be. And she vibes in a similar vein to, not Sienna, but I feel like their circles overlap, so they do some work that's similar, so you're gonna see some fingerprint overlap, movement quality overlap. So my initial thoughts with Jurin, please let me know if I'm saying her name correctly. I feel that for her, she has a very chill, laid back way of executing the movement, but sometimes her movement may not come across as powerful as it could be because she dives into this posture of being laid back so much. I would actually give the same note to Whedon Boys because they have the same, it's a different type of laid back, but they have that viral new school aesthetic about some of their movement and their sequences of their choreography. They run into a very similar problem that I was seeing from the Stream Man Fighter series, and I would present that to her here, but it is a little different. So how she sets it up is really fun. That da-da-da-da-da. For me, it does feel like we're not seeing a lot of investment in the upper body, and it was a bit difficult to know when she was officially starting. So regardless if it's choreography or not, a dancer wants to be in charge of the punctuation or the grammatics of the, you know, of the tone of the piece. So if you think about the piece as a sentence, and now she's given the sentence, she is reading it out loud with her body, right? So Natalie's the one who made the sentence. She's the one who has to read it, right? Just like when we read a book, or just like how I'm talking right now, it is sentences that I am coming up with that I'm saying in real time. So my big note for her here is it wasn't very clear when she was starting her sentence of movement. And I think that was because of how she built it up, her energy. Yeah, that da-da-da-da-da, because she didn't quite take her body and propel it in that direction and make it very clear with any sort of accent that she was starting, that would have really helped tie into, I don't have to rely upon, oh, we're starting, or oh, the track has changed, so therefore she has started. It's like she needs to be very clear, that's the capital letter of that sentence, here we go. You know, movement is great, but I'm talking about the tone and how she can attack it. There's no attack to it, which is why it feels a bit tricky to know when her sentences end and when they start. But I feel like every dancer struggles with something. Her movement, her range was great there. Notice how she was very full in her angles. I may have to slow this down. Normally, I can get away with doing a full speed, but I think slowing down, I won't stop as much. How she hits this, that was a really nice moment she did there with the groove and the glide. But notice she doesn't actually roll through the foot 100%. She kind of taps it and then steps down. So it's a bit choppier. That's hit versus smooth, because she's taking a more legato groove in the upper body. It's supposed to be like, like it's very conversational. Chris Brown has a conversational tone about him, very R&B. It drips in sexiness. It's really Chris Brown's runs and vibe. And so she's taking that laid back, I know I'm cute, I know I'm it kind of vibe, and I really like it. It matches the vibe well. I really like her fit as well. It's just because, you know, I'm just taking a look and I'm reviewing and I'm analyzing this. That would be an area I would hope to see growth from her, is being very clear in the differences between hitting choreo and hitting it in a way that's going to match the overall aesthetic of the track and matches her slang movement to the type of choreography she's given. And I love that right there. Boom. And then she bleeds through. Notice though, she makes her arms take more of a precedence on registering the angle than her body. She doesn't invest her body as much into these moments as she does her arms. And there's a chance she may be the one I was referencing when it comes to not utilizing her back. Yeah, so she used her back a lot more there. And you notice how much more full that was before she wrote this groove. I thought that moment was really, really nice. There, that boom, doo-doo-doo. It didn't feel quite as she was committing to that hit up. It could be just because of the choreography and the timing of it, because remember I have it at 0.75 and that was still pretty quick. So it could just be a mix of that. So they do have some moments where we do get to see her really pop up and showcase herself and how she hits certain timbres of the track. But then there's other moments where I can see, that's choreography that she was given, not choreography she is bodying. She's not quite bodying the choreo. Part of it is because it's not even her choreo. And second thing is it's, you know, it goes back to the things I've already been mentioning about not quite really relying too much on the arms versus allowing the body to infiltrate to help with the groove, and really clarifying the sort of punctuation that you're supposed to have with some of your glide work or your more legato postures. So seeing this here, notice this whole section that she's doing is nice, but it was a bit broken up. There's not quite a connection between the hips to the chest as much. There's a couple of, I feel like we're looking at a puzzle with some missing pieces. You know, she's doing the content and it looks nice, but if she puts this one puzzle piece in, it'll really finish it and make it feel more complete. I think that's my overall note for her as a dancer, but that is a very minute, very specific note to give. The fact is, I can see the choreography, I can see the musicality, I can see the choices. That is snaps all around. The things that I'm talking about are things I would give to elite level dancers, recreational dancers, but rec dancers, which is more sorry, forgive me. Recreational dancers are dancers who mostly just participate for dance. They don't have any, the amount of time they spend dancing per week is around 3 hours or less a week, because some dancers just come for an hour class and they leave. They typically tailor towards that beginner, intermediate understanding of content and foundation. Then you have your intermediate to advanced to elite. Elite is where they train low-key like a part-time job. You know, some dance like a full-time job. And that's a completely separate topic entirely, how I feel about children dancing a full-time job worth of dance. Do I think it's the healthiest? Personally, no, but that's not in reference to here. This is her job, right? So this would be something that's part of her job requisite. If you notice though, that I would give this same type of correction to anybody, regardless of how elite you are. Everybody has an area they can grow in. Even the greats, even the best choreographers in the world always have areas that they could enhance and do better. And that's what naturally happens because we're all human and no one's perfect, right? I have so many things that I can improve on, and I'm just very thankful that I'm in the position where I get to improve those things. And I think by watching these videos like this, it helps me be able to articulate and communicate these types of instances, so maybe I'm able to grow my students in this way as well as myself. So all this is a self-reflection too. So I love that moment too, but it wasn't quite as clear with that boom boom. I really wish I would have seen that connection between the head and the legs a little bit clearer. Boom. That little like, she has a good head eye, so I love the fact we could see her getting into it. I love that. But just because the feet were a bit separated, it was a bit trickier to see exactly what she was doing in that moment. I could see it, but of course we want it to be very clear, right? From here, she brings it down right there into a lock-in. It was a light feet influence move to kind of finish that up. She goes doo-doo-doo, boom, and then she goes right into a different groove, brings it through. I do feel like she's keeping her body more linear. We're not seeing as much hinging of her body as much as I feel like would have been helpful in the transitions of these movements. But that's mostly could be from the choreographer standpoint, or it could be from what she gleaned from the choreographer. I think it's a mix of either of those things. That right there. Da-da-da. Notice that her movement, it did feel a bit more isolated in that moment. Because notice, she had a hip, but notice that she wasn't like, doo-doo-doo. There wasn't any depth behind the movement, and that's another note. And it goes back to depth is a puzzle piece to a movement. She's doing content, depth, integration of texture, posture, groove in the torso, because that's where groove originates, is your torso. That is what takes content like this, skyrockets it, and it makes it your own. It really is. Right there. Doo-doo-doo, boom, boom. Here, exactly where it's going, but notice we're still very linear. She is keeping her body pretty upright. Like her upper body has a very upright posture, which helps in some laid back context. But for a lot of the choreo, it really limits her range. A lot of times I feel like we should be seeing her really lean in opposition to where her legs want to go. But that's just an overall just note for her. That was gorgeous. Did you see that hit? And then you notice she brought her body all the way over. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. We needed to see that all the way from the beginning in that first 30 seconds. That right there is really nice. Using the legato of the body roll. These are things that exactly what I've been talking about. This is what we get to see right here. So much more full. Love that. So she still very, definitely more chill, but we're seeing a lot more investment of that torso. That right there. Boom, boom. Notice when she goes off and she hinges and creates this offset angle, that really helps with how she's building that. 5ing it through, and then she picks it up. 3, 4. Yeah, 1, 2, and you see that tension there. That was a really great choice to see there. Boom. Yeah, and also I think I've been noticing this too. I think for a lot of these grooves, she's kind of has a separation of her feet. We call this like a second position, but she's not doing ballet. She's just doing regular, open style content. So she does tend to, we don't see a lot of changes between the crosses over. She is riding into this more open position. And I actually noticed that a little bit from ATs as well, but I think that is more of a choreography thing than a them thing. But here, I feel how she's hitting a lot of stuff, it goes back to because there's not very clear putting her feet together. It feels like we're kind of dancing in between a lot of grooves in comparison to my feet are together in a groove and my feet are separated in their groove and I'm crossed over, my leg is up, there's not as much clarity, and I feel like that could really help enhance this even more. Even here, that kind of stuff is really nice, very full, but you notice even here, like I really, now I'm noticing it. I think that's my big note as well. And notice because she has her feet so separated even in that moment, when she has her knees go in and out, it's not as clear whenever you see her, you know, alternated in, having a twist in, having this more groove as she builds it. So it's a mix of her lack of hinging as often as I feel like could be effective for a track like this, not having her feet very distinguished between crossing, uncrossed, separated together. It's chilling in this no man's land between the second position and putting her feet together in a sixth position. That kind of feel of the shoulder length apart. It feels like a lot of her movements are not quite as committed 100% of the way. Feels like 89%. Yeah, she sits there down and down, so it's really nice how she's taking this more puppeting approach on that tail end. I love that da-da-do-do-do-do, so that was nice, but it does read a little bit similar to another fingerprint that we've already seen her do. That was nice. Great pistol squat. People take that for granted. When somebody's able to do a one leg stability drop, was really nice. Ooh, we're going to talk about this though. This is just if she was 30 years old, she'd appreciate if somebody told her at this age, when you have your knee one direction and you have your foot a completely different direction, this right here is going to cause you an injury so fast. Here's why. Your body and your joints are not meant to go in opposition like that. In ballet, in acro, in jazz, in street styles, in what have you, we are always trained and we are told in every freaking class that I've given people money to for me to learn about, you make sure that knee is in check with that foot. When you're in ballet and you're turned out, that knee needs to go over those toes or goes over that foot. They don't need to be hanging out in no man's land going forward. Whenever you're doing acro going into a bridge, every single time I see a bridge, I talk about it. And there was somebody from Street Dance School Fighter. She was doing a bridge into a tut. It was freaking great, but she needs to be mindful of having parallel feet because her knees will thank her for it. She's probably not going to be injured by that right now, but if she continues to do that, there's a really good chance she's going to weaken that joint and it's going to cause tension or cause pain in the future. So that would be my overall note for her. As I noticed that I feel like we need to have more strength behind the flexibility of her joints and where they position them. That would be my overall note there, which is a really great thing to have, and it's really difficult to kind of bring up. I'd rather build up strength from flexibility than somebody who has strength and lacks flexibility. Like, you either deal with one or the other, and it feels like she has more flexibility to strength here. But as she moves on, that slide through was really nice, having this moment, boom, doo-doo-doo, really great, but still showing those very similar things I've already mentioned. That crossover was nice, but look, she's still hanging on that no man's land shoulder length apart. Harlem Shake was super fun with the bleed out there, do-do-do-do-do. Notice her, I think it's her left arm, but it shows right on my side. Harlem Shake. She started this out a little bit off. So you have one side that was coming more towards the chest and the other was already kind of out a little bit. Let me actually look at this Harlem Shake. Yeah, so one was over crossed and then one wasn't quite crossed enough. And whenever she bled it out, for me, a lot of times we try to avoid over bleeding like that. A lot of times you want it to kind of stay in its own lane, because when you think about waving, you don't have a wave that curls underneath you. It all has its own lane. The energy is supposed to come out, but I'm going to assume that is a choreographic choice, not she's not thinking that through. So that's I understand that. Picking up the foot. Now we're back to that lock in. That's more of a choreography thing. I love the energy of just chilling here. That was super fun. And then seeing her finish up, do-do-do-do-do-do. That was really nice, suave moment. I feel like that would have stood out more if she approached and attacked more of her choreography, so some of her grooves. So if she utilized her grooves in the sense of her torso really going for certain opposite angles in her isos, I feel like that would have read way more effective than how it reads right now. Right now it reads, I'm finishing up my choreo, I'm taking a chill moment, but it doesn't feel like, wow, she's really diving into all these different postures and all these different ways of attacking the track. She's kind of keeping it more melatonin, or like monotonous almost. And I feel like that can take you away from a track regardless of how good you are if you stay you know, if you're doing all these crazy tricks, but that's all you do, you're gonna have people tune out eventually, you know, and it goes for this. I'm not saying she's quite at that point, but a lot of her grooves and how she's attacking her grooves are very similar in the phrases, how she finishes and how she ends. It could be a choreography thing. There's always going to be a role in that and how she's interpreting it. But you cannot discredit the fact that that can turn people off from watching. I couldn't watch 3 minutes of it, you know, or somebody can handle like 40 seconds. But if you do this for 3 minutes, you're going to have people tune out about after a minute and a half, honestly, because when you look at, fun fact, YouTube algorithms and analytics, a lot of those things, they take a look at the how long you retain your audience. And so for me, I normally retain people through my initial reaction. By the time I'm talking about like how I'm talking now, most of the people that click on a video like this have finished, because a lot of people really just care about my initial reaction. And some people like to stick around and try to understand, I really like this piece. Can somebody tell me why? I can be helpful in that way. Or, something feels off about this piece. I help in that way as well. So there's nothing necessarily wrong with this piece. There's just areas that I feel like there can be some growth, or I'm excited to see the growth, because naturally people get better. I like to say this, you can't be any worse than you currently are. This is not even bad. This is great. And the fact that I'm giving very refined, detailed feedback just proves to you that she has all of the basics and fundamentals of understanding choreography retention and understanding how to execute choreography for a camera or in general. It's a very nice thing that she needs to be proud of, because that's going to be very helpful for her whenever she gets to do her own music, which is what we've already been seeing as well, you know? Having that crossover was nice, up, lead over. Now we see that same glide all the way across, but she switches the upper body. It's still very nice, but she is attacking it very similarly. That would be my note, trying to attack it in a different way. The turnaround was nice. Her having this little groove, it does feel more like a network that she was trying to do there, but it felt very subtle, more like a mark. Very similar to the beginning, which validates my entire point of, in the beginning, how she was setting up before the choreo even started, gave off that same energy that she's doing here a minute 20 in. That's something you really want to strive to work on and try to create more heartbeats in your set. So, and it's really nice though to see her going boom, and then she's bleeding back. Boom, da da da. Yep. And then right there, even there, if there was some power, but not near enough power to catch my attention. It was like, okay, we're still going. It was a transition, not a power play. So I love that. Da da da. And then she turns and walks away. We zoom out, you know, and bada bing, bada boom. So this was a really nice set, really great introduction to Jurin, and I'm excited to see all the other members, because at this point I've only seen this one isolated video, move number 1, and I think I've seen Puppet Show, and I've seen their performance clip. His Solwu, and yeah, I don't even want to try to pronounce it. I'm so sorry. But yeah, I've seen very limited in comparison to everything that they have out, their entire catalog. So I am very excited to see how this progresses over the time. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope I was helpful in some way. I am loving when I have opportunities to marathon groups, just like with XG. I'm actively reacting to ATs at the same time, and I have just completed 17, and they had... Honestly, XG and ATs combined is only about half the catalog that 17 had. So I honestly am very excited about the fact that I get to explore these guys at the same time, because they're so different, and see their growth. I know I'll see more growth from ATs than I will XG, because XG is significantly newer at the time of me doing this. But it's still very nice to be able to take a look at what they're doing, what they're bringing to the table, how they're elevating the game, because I really feel like they are, especially from the girl group side. And I do know, like I mentioned in the first video, they are a Japanese group that is based in South Korea that have more of a hybrid training, which I think is super dope, because I feel like things like that always tend to do better in industries like K-pop or just in general, because I feel like you don't want to be monotonous even in how the industry displays groups. You want to have an identity or a sense of how you come across, and I feel like even in their training it was already different, so them performing is coming at it from a different lens than a lot of other groups would in their pre-debuts, which I think is super cool, and it's nice to see here, and I am looking forward to seeing more from them. If you want to see more XG, ATs 17, K-pop, dance content, things of the like. I have that all over YouTube, but I got so much more on Patreon. There's so much that is early release there, and you can binge to your heart's content for days. That's about how much we're dealing with. But I'm excited to continue on this with y'all and the discussions that normally follow. I am Jess, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye.